a production of the Mesa Chamber of Commerce. Visit us at mesachamber.org.
All right, well, thank you for being here. Thank you everyone in the Zoom room for being here. And thank you for signing up for Chamber Media Week. This is the first day. So today we're gonna go over all of the free opportunities that are media and promotion related that are included in your membership. We're gonna talk about how to leverage those, how to stack them, what those opportunities are, and then if there's some time at the end, we'll also talk about where we can find those opportunities and how you can kind of fill those forms out. If we have time, we'll pop into the portal, explore around there, and I'll show you some things in there. So firstly, what opportunities are available at no cost? So we're gonna go step by step through these opportunities, but you have your hot deals, your member-to-member deals, you have your jobs board postings, you have your news releases, your procurement requests. We're gonna go through these, I promise. These are all also available for you in your portal. One thing that I wanna note before, as we go through this, is whenever you post these things through your chamber portal, they automatically generate social media posts. Once they're by Bob or I, it will automatically generate posts. So a lot of people send content to Bob or I asking for us to please post it on social media. When in reality, if they were to take some of these measures, they would not only gain the benefits of these measures, but they would also get a social media post. It would automatically do those things. All we would have to do is go in and approve the post. So it would be a much faster way of getting those things done. Some strategies as we're kind of going through this, you want to make sure to include graphics whenever possible. So this is true of social media. It's also true on our boards as well. When there are graphics involved, people tend to look at it. There are fields for graphics. It will display thumbnails. You can place flyers internally based off which events you're talking about or which portals you're talking about. So that's something to think about. You're going to want to be clear, precise, and accurate. So one thing that we see on the job boards or on the hot deals, for instance, is sometimes members don't know what they're interacting with. They don't necessarily understand the deal. And if they don't understand the deal, they're much less likely to interact with the deal and to interact with the business. If they don't understand the job posting, they're much less likely to share it. So be clear, precise, and accurate. Another thing I want to remind you of is we want to be precise. We want to be patient and proactive. So a lot of times when they put their deal out there and people don't respond immediately, they just pull it down or they get discouraged. But a lot of times all that needs to happen is a small adjustment. Maybe the title was too long and it's not showing up in the field, so people don't understand what you're asking of them, those kinds of things. So being patient, being proactive can help when you're using all these chamber benefits. All right, so some statistics. So we have on our social media, there's lots of followers. Engagement wise, we're really high engagement on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Twitter has more followers, a little bit less engagement, as Twitter tends to be, the tweets kind of fly by people, so it's a little bit less engagement. Our podcasts, we have really healthy downloads, all-time downloads, 2,600. We average about 69 downloads a month. Our website views a month, we average around 12,000. And then we have two different YouTube pages that the Chamber operates. So these are two different media opportunities. Bob, on one of the later days, will talk about the media opportunities available with the Mesa Morning Live channel.
That's Thursday.
That's on Thursday. Bob will talk about those benefits that are available with media there. There are less than 1,500, 1,400 subscribers on the Mesa Morning Live channel. That gets close to 2,000 views per month. Our own homegrown Mesa Chamber YouTube page gets around 300 views per month on average. So those are just some important numbers to think about as you're moving through Chamber Media Week. I'm sure these numbers will kind of pop back up, but these are some important things to think about, especially the social media today, because everything we talk about today will kind of get its own social media plug, and it will pull on those website views of 12,000 views per month. All right, so the first opportunity you have included in your chamber membership is press releases. So this is kind of par for the course for press releases. Most people know what they're for. They disseminate information in large batches to a membership at large. One of the great things about press releases is they give you control over your message, and they kind of allow you to communicate your story the way you want it to be told. So when you formulate that press release, you can tell the story of job openings. One that we see often is hirings. So an organization will hire somebody new to a big internal position, and they want to put the word out. Hey, we just hired this awesome new person. We just created this new department with these X new employees. Those kinds of things are great for press releases. Also using press releases to promote events and achievements within the organization. So we just had those rounds of Best of Mesa, Best of Arizona, those kinds of things. Making those press releases and posting them to the chamber webpage is a great way to get that news out to the surrounding membership, to the community at large, to other press organizations. So creating those press releases and putting them in the chamber portal is a great way to disseminate that type of information, press release type information. Also on the same vein, we have procurement requests, which are a little bit different, but they function the same way as press releases. So Bob and I are actually working on developing a more thorough portal for those procurement requests. And what that'll allow chamber members to do is actually pop in and request services from other chamber members. So we're working on building that out. But as it exists right now, you can still go in and create a procurement request for any service that you may need filled. So you can do all of that through your press releases. Another great thing you can use press releases for is to establish thought leadership. So if you want to share your story on the lines of sharing your story, if you want to establish thought leadership, you can also use them as like a pseudo blog to talk about the way your organization has been involved in the community. So those are also things that you can use them to highlight past events as well as promote future events. One thing that I do want to note is I have this tip at the bottom here, this tying it together tip. On Friday, I'll be coming in and kind of cleaning up what Bob talks about Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and talking about how to combine a lot of these promotional opportunities. So I'm going to take that time now to also kind of lean into that presentation coming up on Friday a little bit. Press releases are a great thing to combine with your events, deals, or jobs postings. So if you were to post an event to the chamber event calendar, and then also post a press release for that event, that'll generate twice as many eyes on the event, and it'll keep that ball rolling. You can also use the press releases to stack with your deals or your jobs really well. Press releases stack with, especially if you're doing a large scale hiring, where you're hiring more than one position, that kind of thing is great for a press release. And the people checking press releases might not be people checking the jobs board. People sharing from the jobs board are not going to be the same people sharing from the press releases section. So that section is included in your chamber membership. Again, at the end, I'll show you where that is, how you access it, and all those kinds of things. All right. So our next opportunity is the chamber jobs board. So the jobs board promotes jobs within the chamber community and within the Mesa community at large. So if you're looking to hire specifically within the Mesa community, the chamber jobs board is a great way to do that. Also, there are no costs and no fees associated with it. So if you're looking to avoid the fees associated with some of those other hiring services, this is a good place to come to. And you can also use the job board as a static link if you have a position that you're hiring for pretty often. So we have one company who keeps a static job posting there probably 6 months out of the year. It seems like that job posting is almost always on the chamber board, because throughout that portion of the year, they're looking to fill people in this position. So you can also use it as a static link or a static reference to have that job posting there. So that way you can link back to that on your own pages or anything like that. Again, this advertises directly to the Mesa business community and the Mesa community at large, which is part of what makes it so helpful and so unique. So again, tying it together tip, combine these with your press releases, and that'll help amp up the power of your jobs posting. So if you were to post the job, write a little press release about it, that would double the power of your job posting. And then if you were to tell Bob or I about it after we had approved it and said, hey, thank you for approving our post, here's an extra graphic for social media, right? Then we're able to put out 3 times the power for you to help you unlock all these benefits that are already included in your chamber membership. So it's a lot about communicating with Bob and I about what you've done, what you've already done, and making sure to seize these opportunities that are here for you, because some of these opportunities are really underutilized. All right, events. I'm going to spend a little bit more time here. So the member events have their own calendar on the chamber webpage. So it's important when you're posting the events to make sure that you give people time. This is one thing that we see when people use the internal chamber event calendar that they're not cognizant of and they're not taking into account. You really want to make sure that you give membership and the community at large time to plan for your event. Customarily, you would want to give 3 shout outs, one a few months out, one a few weeks out, and one the week of, telling people to come to your event. That would just be kind of par for the course, is getting those 3 messages in. So if you're not on the calendar a few months out, not only can Bob and I in the chamber not do what we need to do and help promote your event, but people aren't going to have the time to adequately plan for your event and to show up to your event. So that's really important to keep in mind. That's one that we see come through a lot. People ask us to promote events and it's only a few weeks out, and that really only gives us time for those 2 reminders as opposed to the 3 reminders. And oftentimes each reminder, par for the course again, traditionally each reminder has a different tone. So the first one announces the event, the second one reminds of the event, and the third one is, your last chance offer, kind of like get in before it's actually here kind of offer, right? So each one has a different tone. So if we're missing that first one, we're not giving as much background information to your event, or we're sacrificing the reminder post for the sake of announcing. So we're able to give you less value if you don't give us the time to execute kind of those things. Also, I've seen people be disappointed because they put their event on the chamber calendar 2 days before, and it gets buried in everybody else's events, and it gets buried in all the chamber events, and it's easy to get buried. And the best way to avoid getting buried is to post things ahead of time so people know that they're there and they know that they're coming. Again, we got our tying it together tips. You want to combine those with your press releases and your hot deals. So I put the hot deals one is a little bit of a tip that I came up with, but the press releases, that one's a little bit more obvious. So if you have a big event coming up, a ribbon cutting, a grand reopening, a big sale that's accompanying some kind of 4th of July type event, you can not only can you post that hot deal as a hot deal, you can post it as an event because it is a 2-day event that your shop is holding. You can also write a press release about the event you're holding. So you can, again, stack those 3 times when you're doing an event to unlock the power of your chamber benefits. So you can post one offering in more of these places. You don't have to rely on just the event calendar to tell the story of your event. You can also use the press release to tell the story of your event. And then if you want to attach some type of discount to the event that you're holding, a coupon, you can also attach that coupon in the hot deal section. So all of these things can kind of roll together and move through from there. So I'm going to pause for questions really quick because we talked about, yes, Bob has questions.
How important is the formatting on the press release?
The formatting of the press release needs to be consistent within your organization. So I would say that that's very important. What's more important to us as an organization is going to be your, and Bob's like, what is he going to say? But it's going to be fine. The spelling and the grammar, because we're going to have to go through and we're going to have to recheck it. And if on those press releases, if we're sending it back and forth, asking you to correct things, that's going to get very cumbersome and tiresome for a lot of you. A lot of the formatting, we'll go through a lot of this. Your chamber portal will walk you through a lot of the formatting and making sure you fill out a lot of those fields. In terms of formatting, I think it's most important to make sure that the contact information, it's most important to make sure that the contact information is filled out at the bottom. So that's an error that we see with press releases a lot, is that the contact information field won't be filled out. And then if people did have an inquiry, if a press organization did want to follow up, it would be hard for them to do so without that contact information on the bottom. So making sure that you have that, making sure that you're very clear and very thorough, and that you're using the voice of your organization and hopefully speaking for that organization with good spelling and clear grammar, good syntax, that sort of thing. Any other questions?
So the best way to submit a press release is just through the chamber portal and not to email you directly?
Yes, because then again, I don't have to guess at your formatting for your organization. I don't have to imitate the formatting for your organization. I don't have to go back and forth to seek approval from your organization. You can just go in and control your message. Again, that's one of the things that I wanted to talk about in this presentation, is if Bob and I do it, you're giving up an element of control in terms of telling your story, whereas all of these things are perfectly within your control right from within that chamber portal. So Bob and I will often post press releases, and we do our best to go back to the website and match the organization's formatting. I do it a lot with the City of Mesa solicitation requests, but we would prefer that you would post your press releases on behalf of your organizations so that there's less getting caught in the weeds there.
Another good tip on that is that when you are able to submit them online, they are actually attached to your login. So they're attached to your organization directly. If we have to go in and manually create the press release, Marcus and I are typically pretty good about it. but there's a chance that it may not actually be tied to the organization, which helps in regards to content. So everything you can tie back to your listing in the chamber directory is going to be a benefit to you in the long run. So
yeah, the more things you're able to tie back to your chamber listing in the directory, the more things will come up when you're Google searched in connection with the chamber, the easier it is for you to come up on the chamber's internal search bar. So it's really important to keep things linked back to your organization, which is easier to do if the organization is in control of that piece. Ted? We good? Okay. Next, we got hot deals. One of the most underutilized sections on the page, I think. I think one of the most common social media requests that we get are for deals, coupons, specials, discounts, those kinds of things that people want posted for them, which is absolutely fine. I just realized now that I'm having kind of a discouraging tone about sending me things. Please don't. Please send me all the things. I love getting your things. Please send me the promotions. But if you want to be in control of your message a little bit more and you want to reach out to the membership directly through a different medium, then people do check these boards. You want to check out the hot deals board. So these promote your special deal coupon to the chamber and the Mesa community at large. These can be long-term or short-term deals. These are pretty self-explanatory. I mean, you go in, you post a flyer or a graphic, you explain the nature of the deal, and you offer it to the membership at large. These hot deals differ from member-to-member deals. So I'm going to kind of talk about them a little bit at the same time. Member-to-member deals are like hot deals, but they are offered exclusively to membership. So these are not, you can't see these from the consumer-facing chamber website. You only see these from within your chamber login portal, if I'm not mistaken, which I may be. But they can be.
You're right.
Okay, I'm correct. Yeah, you won't. So members will only see these within their chamber master portal. So these are not facing the community or the membership at large. These are facing only membership internally. So they can be a lot more significant. They can also be tailored specifically to member needs. So rather than trying to using these to drive sales, you could maybe use member-to-member deals to drive connections, to drive outreach, those kinds of things. So that's something to think about. These deals can be a lot more specific. They can be a lot more significant because you're not having to offer them to anywhere near as many people. Now, if you want to offer them to a lot more people than just the 1,000, because apparently 1,000 isn't very many people in my head, but if you wanted to offer it to more people than just 1,000, you would want to use your hot deals. So these can be long or short-term deals. Sullivan Motor Company tends to use them as longer-term deals. They have a hot deal posted right now. They tend to use them as longer-term deals. Other people tend to use them as short deals, buy one, get ones on vans, free installations, weekend specials, holiday specials, that kind of thing. So this can be a great way to promote your special and promote your deal. Again, if you combine these with press releases and events, you're getting a lot more out of that one event. You're getting a lot more out of that one listing. Did you have something? Yeah,
If I can.
absolutely.
So everything that we do, like our clients come in, they're paid for by medical insurance, that sort of thing. So with something like this, if we start like a new outpatient group, could this be like a hot deal be used for that? Since we're not directly charging the client, we're charging the insurance company. Could we use that as, hey, we're starting a new adolescent anxiety group, and it's going to be going on for this amount of time? Would that be something I could use for that?
I think that would be a press release.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think that would probably be a press release.
Okay.
And maybe a opening day event to make people aware that, hey, this is the day it starts. Hey, this is the day it ends.
Right.
So that would be, thank you for that question, because that brings up an excellent point, is that you're not necessarily going to want to use every opportunity for things to overlap. For things to overlap. So I think it would actually be great if you took that information and you made it a press release, which would automatically, once it was approved by Bob or I, would automatically put out a social media post, right? Then you make that first day event, second day event, so the day that it starts, the day that it ends.
Right.
And then you were to send us a flyer, then we could schedule additional social media in between then. And we can also, this is a huge benefit to us, since you've already made a press release, since you already have the events on the calendar, we can now link back to them in the social media post that you made with the flyer.
Okay, fantastic.
So that gives us something internally to link back to. And again, it increases those searches. It increases all that internal connections with your account and all those types of things.
Okay, cool.
Great question. I don't think that would be good for a hot deal.
Okay.
Great question. Thank you.
Awesome, thanks.
And then these are great for engaging contacts and outreach. Again, I talked about how in the member-to-member section, if you wanted to use them more so to engage outreach and that kind of thing, you could. People love a deal. People love a good deal. And then tying it all together. So going backwards, on Friday, we'll be talking about how to utilize these free benefits and actually stack them with other paid benefits to really unlock more of the power of your chamber membership and get a lot more out of these first freebies. So give yourself and the customer time. We talked about being patient earlier. We talked about being a little bit proactive and making sure things are edited, making sure you're giving yourself the grace to get things incorrect. But give yourself and the customer time, whether it be an event, whether it be a press release, whether it be a deal, give people time. If a deal is going to be seasonal, maybe don't put it up on the first day of the deal. Maybe put it up before the deal goes live and simply in the dates denote that this is the terms of the deal. There are a lot of different things that you can do to make sure you're giving the customer time. Make a plan and follow through on that plan. You talked about, you excellently brought up that you have this outpatient program that you're starting. So you're already starting to build a plan about how you would like to use your chamber membership to promote that outpatient deal. And over the course of the week, Bob will talk about other opportunities for sponsorship that can actually be stacked with these types of things. So, the promotional materials that you send us, you could pick an event around the time where the outpatient hospital opens or the outpatient program opens. And then you could sponsor that event, talk about that event, and then you could use all of these free materials to let people know that you're going to be at that event that you're sponsoring. So that way people are anticipating your mic time and know what they're going to hear. It'll help further promote your mic time. And you can kind of stack these things to get a lot more out of these experiences. Right. So that's what I'm going to be talking about on Friday. I just wanted to peek forward a little bit there, and hopefully the tying it all together notes made sense. Consider using as many forms of communication as makes sense for your individual opportunity. It's better to overpost than to underpost. It's better to give people more time than to give people not enough time. You can always post again, but you can't always post again if there's not enough time. We have more questions.
Actually, I have an additional statement in regards to events.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to zip up to the events real quick. Just so everybody knows, if you're posting a reoccurring event, I will typically adjust the end date of that event to be 90 days out. And the reason for that is we have a number of members over the years that have created reoccurring events with no end date. And then the event subsequently fell off the face of the earth for the organizer. And so these events were on the calendar that basically just were taking up space. So know that if you're putting in a reoccurring event, let's say you have an event that happens every Thursday, plan on just say, hey, I'm going to revisit it 90 days from now. I'm going to re-enter it for the next 90 days. That way the event is fresh. That way the event is current. And if for some reason you stop organizing the event, you're not getting phone calls 120 days from now from people saying, hey, I tried to go to this event because it was on the chamber calendar and nobody was there when I got there. So that's just a pro tip. Usually I will send that email to the organizer when they post it so that they know to throw it on their calendar. Just in 90 days, go back and just re-enter the event so that we keep it current. So.
Yes. And another note on events while we're here that I'd forgotten about. The chamber puts out multiple newsletters, the Monday Morning Message and the mission statement newsletters, the Improve, Promote, and Advocate newsletters. So events do have a chance to be featured in those newsletters, probably more often than any other type of listing. So events are great. We don't usually feature member events from the member calendar in the Monday Morning Message, but they will end up featured in the mission statement newsletters, which come out on Fridays. So that's an important thing to keep an eye on too.
Which is a good tie-in for press releases. Because the newsletters are focused on member news, we will draw content for our newsletters that we email out from the information that we've gotten. So whether it is press releases that our members have submitted, or a particularly enticing hot deal, or whatever that content is, that's the content that we're going to populate, if we can, into the weekly newsletters that we send out. That's the purpose of those newsletters. So the advocate newsletter, we might find a press release from a member that talks about something that they were doing in the advocate space. The promote newsletter will talk about a member maybe that's won an award for the work that they do, those types of things. So always be conscious that what's happening in your business is content that you can share with others to establish your credibility and establish your thought leadership. So
absolutely. And people often undersell themselves. Business owners, business leaders often undersell themselves in terms of what's going on with their business and what's worthy of promotion. If you're a restaurant and you've got an awesome new sandwich and you're capable of hyping up that sandwich and making it feel like an event, then it's an event. If you, if you were just featured in, Phoenix New Times, and that's a big deal to you in your business, and you would like to put together a press release about that, about being featured, you can do that, So showcasing your business and showcasing your story, especially if it's a community story that's not necessarily being highlighted. So a lot of community outreach stories, those are really great for press releases, and we don't often see enough of that press release form. I personally would like to see more chamber members telling their stories using the press release and really telling the stories of what their organizations are doing in terms of community outreach, because a lot of that stuff never leaves their office internally. It doesn't get out to the surrounding community, which is part of why we started the mission statement newsletters, was to help get some of these stories out into the community. So if we don't hear the stories, if we don't know about the stories, we can't share them to the community, and in turn, the community won't hear about the stories. So that's going to be really important too. Are there any questions in the chat?
Oh, good question.
So Mary just asked a great question, asking if being invited to a podcast is worthy of a press release, and absolutely 100% yes. So that is a media opportunity, and you definitely want to tell people that you are getting media opportunities. So I've been invited to be on so-and-so's podcast. The podcast will air at this time. We're going to talk about this. This is what this podcast talks about. It's a great way for you to share that you're being recognized for thought leadership and you're being recognized in your industry. It's a huge credibility builder. So absolutely, Mary. Yes.
Absolutely. 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 I don't have much to add on the podcast note, but that would absolutely be something that you would want to share in a press release form. Colleges, education institutions are very good about sharing those types of things in their press release sections. So if you need some guidance about things to post, any educational organization are often very thorough with their press release.
Anything you're invited to participate in. So if you've been invited to guest lecture, if you've been invited to speak to a group, if you've been invited to participate in some event or something, those are all good subject matter for a press release, because again, it shows people that, hey, I'm being noticed for the work that I do, and I'm being asked to contribute my knowledge to a greater audience. That's the kind of stuff that people will think, oh, okay, so that means that person knows what they're talking about. I might want to look into them a little bit. So don't ever hesitate. Don't ever hesitate to post a press release on that. Past podcasts, I would say you are more than welcome to put out a release when the podcast becomes available. So when it's released out into the world and published, definitely that's worthy of a second press release to say, hey, I know I sent you a press release saying I'd been invited to do this podcast. The majority of podcasts aren't live, they're pre-recorded and then they're released. So you could then send a second press release once the podcast is released out into the world to say, hey, remember that press release I sent you about that podcast? Hey, you can go listen to it. Here's the link for it. So it's a good follow-up opportunity. You can also put those as deep links into your chamber profile. So your chamber profile, and when Marcus gets in there, he's going to be able to kind of talk a little bit about this. But you have the opportunity to add deep links or other links to your chamber profile that people can click on and learn more about you. There is nothing that says you can't throw a YouTube link in there or throw a podcast link in there or some other sort of establishing content link that helps people learn more about who you are. huge opportunity that most people miss because they just put their website in and that's it. Even if your website has several layers to it, so let's say, for example, you're an automotive company and you sell new cars, you sell used cars, you do service, you can actually link specifically to each service that you provide in your site so that people can get right to what it is that they want to get out of your site instead of having to navigate through. So again, we can show a little bit of that here in a bit.
Absolutely. And as far as past podcasts, I did want to make one note. If something about the subject matter of the podcast is relevant again, or if for some reason the person you did the podcast with is in the news, or if the podcast was surrounding a particular event and it's the anniversary of that event, then it would be then news relevant again, and you could then make a press release about it again. Again, so if something, if it's a past podcast and something happened to make it relevant again, then you can pull it back out and make a new press release. The angle would just slightly depending on what made it into the news again. So yeah, it's doable. Any other questions before we move on to showing you guys what some of this stuff kind of looks like? Great. Sounded like I was in a spooky forest there for a second. All right. So I'm going to step off and.
You ready?
Yeah.
All right.
That's what the. Pay no attention to the man behind the screen. We're going to move on to the next thing.
I wore the wrong shoes. My Ruby ones.
All right, hang on. I'm actually, for those of you at home, I'm actually going to set you up to follow Marcus as he navigates. Well, that's interesting. Did I click on the wrong thing? As he navigates through a profile, a sample profile. So give me just a moment to get logged in on
I'm gonna
that
show them the
sample profile.
member side first, or the consumer-facing side first.
Oh, all right, very good. Then let me get that shared.
All right.
Boop.
Hopefully, I'm still at least a little visible.
I'm getting there.
First,
I'm getting there.
we're good. We're getting there. We're getting synced up. So first, I wanted to show you the member news section for press releases. So previously, if you went to the news section, there's also the procurement request section, member news section. There are other sections, but I kind of wanted to show you guys what this looks like in the member-facing portal. Kind of why it's important to include a graphic. So sometimes I will go in and snag a company logo, so there's at least something. But you can tell even on this front-facing page, the ones with the graphics are a little bit more fun. So I'll poke into the MCC. All right. So in terms of formatting, your chamber login will do a lot of this stuff for you. But you can tell there's the date, and a lot of the press releases will have a time that the press release will run until. So you can set that time. If it runs a little bit too long, Bob or I might come in and chop it at 90 days, just so it's not posted there forever. And then all of this content, again, you want to have that note with that media contact. And generally, organizations will choose to keep some kind of official language towards the bottom. So this is something that it's really important to make sure that if you write this press release, you can include this organization-specific information towards the bottom of the screen. But that's not something that I would know to post for you. If you were to send me a press release about an event and you had the press release all written up, that was more so the content at the top of the page, explaining your event, explaining your program. I'm not gonna know to put all of this organizational information at the bottom, especially if you're a law firm, if you're a healthcare organization, any of those things that need to be very clear and very concise, need to include a lot of disclaimers. I'm gonna need those, so it's best if you control your message. You can kind of do those things here. So I kind of wanted to show you what that looked like. Really quickly, I will pop over to the member event calendar. So, as you can see, we have several events already posted on our calendar. So we have a Summer Sessions Books, we have a Crocs Cares event, and we have a Cheesecake Factory event that has been there for quite a while. And the Summer of a Million Meals campaign, as you can see here. So Bob, you want to pick an event at random, we'll click on it.
Let's look at University of Dubuque.
All right, University of Dubuque, let's do it.
And Pam, the Cheesecake Factory is exactly what we were talking about earlier, because Cheesecake Factory is not a member, but United Food Bank does stuff with them. So that's kind of one of those where, yeah, we look at it, okay, they're doing something cool, we'll let it.
All right, so as you can tell here, there's, again, Chamber Master will do, Chamber Master, sorry, that's what it's called for us. Your chamber login will do a lot of the information that you see on the side under location, map, contact information, fees, and admission. There will be fields for you to fill in that will dictate what goes on these sidebars. So you don't necessarily have to do any of this coding yourself or any of that craziness. You'll just fill out the fields in the gaps that you see fit. So there'll be a gap for website, like it'll say link, an event link, location, contact information, fees. Make sure you fill out these sections on the side. A lot of people think that because they include the information like the location, the contact, and the fees in the event description, that's adequate. A lot of the times people will just look at the stuff on the sides to determine if they can go to an event. So they'll see a flyer, they already know they want to go, they'll look at the information on the sides to see if they can, and if it's not there or if it's inadequate information, they're not necessarily going to go to read your event description. When we can't make people put in more effort on the internet, but your listing can kind of pull them in the correct direction. So that's another thing to remember. Another thing is that your events will have end dates if you run them. If it's an extended event, if it's a deal or something like that, or a promotional thing like the Summer of a Million Meals or the Cheesecake Factory. Those are long-running events, and like Bob said, he may chop your event off if you're not paying attention.
I will let you know, though. I will not chop your event without letting you know. I do want to draw your attention to just a couple of quick things. You'll notice that there is a website link. You'll be able to put in a website. If you are requiring some sort of an RSVP for that, I would definitely put that RSVP link in that website link. I would also put it over on the right. There is a section when you fill it out for fees and administration. What I would do is basically say, this event requests an RSVP. Even if it's free, you can say it's free, there's no cost, but it requests an RSVP. Please RSVP here and put the link into that section. And we'll show you what that looks like on the back end for those of you that haven't had a chance to see that as of yet. And then also, there's a nice little set of reminder that people can do. So people can actually put their email address in and say, hey, send me an email like the day before to let me know this is coming up. So you are always welcome to encourage people to do that. We don't necessarily see too much of that activity, and it would be nice to see more of that activity. So.
All right. Any questions about events before we move on to hot deals? Going once, going twice? Okay.
We have one hot deal.
We do. We have one hot deal right now. I'm telling you, it's a very underutilized section. All right. So I'm not going to pick on anyone here, but we have a hot deal. So contact information, again, really important to include that contact information. In terms of formatting, there are some things you can do within Chamber Master to make it a little bit prettier, but this is a very underutilized section of your member login. Again, if you have a deal that you're posting and you want us to post about it, it's really helpful to have this page to link back to that refers to your deal in a lot more detail. You can take the time on this page to really explain your deal, tell the story of your deal. If it has something to do with an anniversary, if it has something to do with a holiday or anything like that, you can really take the time to tell your story. And like you were saying, maybe not the best for some of the medical stuff, but getting closer to telling your story and using the correct thing to tell your story. So the Chamber Hot Deal page is awesome, very underutilized, great for generating contacts. Again, the offer valid portion you'll note, July 8th through July 31st. So you set those in the Chamber portal, and we'll go back and we'll kind of show you where you see some of these things, but we don't need to spend too much time here. This one's pretty straightforward. Our last page that we need to peek at is the, yes,
I see hashtags in there.
yes.
Does it make a difference in here?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Bob, but hashtags, no. No.
My guess is in this instance, this is some pre-created content that they had that they were just throwing all over social media, and so they just pasted it in there.
I was just wondering. If
Hashtags, in regards specifically to this,
Yeah.
aren't necessarily going to do
Okay.
anything for you.
Thank you.
There is a metadata description, but you're not going to want to use hashtags for metadata.
Yeah. Where else we going?
The last place we got to pop over to the jobs postings really quick.
All right, who's looking for a new job?
If anybody is looking for a new job, there are 3 job postings on the Chamber job board. Actually, the one that I was going to reference that is on the board on the Chamber jobs board for huge chunks of time and is seasonal, the one I'm most familiar with, is not here. So, but it's good to see that they're cycling through. So we've got 3 job postings. They're all for something very different. So 2 for the same organization. Therapy coordinator, financial service representative. Again, these are kind of focusing in on Mesa a little bit more. So if you don't necessarily want to go to a national job recruiting organization, you don't want to use one of those paid services to hire, this is a great place to tap this job board. It is very searchable. Bob can speak a little bit more to it, but Google does treat the Chamber as a pseudo government information gathering organization. It treats it as an official source. So it will place our results a little bit higher in terms of priority because it treats it as an official source.
Yeah, it's considered a non-government organization, but because of the nature and the history of chambers in relation to how they index and directory business, they're considered a trusted resource. So businesses that are listed, if you do a search for a business in a chamber, their chamber listing typically will pop into that top 10. So it's a good way for you to honestly check the validity of a particular business. Are they a member of a chamber? Do they make that investment in themselves? If they do, then obviously they've chosen to make that investment, and that's a good thing. So
yeah, and it's a good thing to note also, if all these things are connected to your chamber profile, if all of these things are connected to your chamber presence, it's a good thing to know that your business's chamber listing will probably come up in the top 10 search results if you Google your business. And if you're a business that has multiple locations, so let's, Jimmy John's, for instance, and they Google Jimmy John's Mesa, chances are your chamber membership that's Jimmy John's #Mesa will probably be above your Facebook. I've seen it happen multiple times where it'll be the business's official website and then the chamber website, and then their social media start running in. So it is important to note that will happen. But really quickly, I want to hop off this page and I want to show you guys what your chamber portal looks like if you've never had the opportunity to hop in there. So Bob is going to log in on his end and I'm going to log in over
all right,
here.
I'm already in. For those of you at home, you're ahead of the game.
Oh, okay.
He's not even logged in yet.
Well, Bob, could you take a moment to show them their bio area?
I
Like
would be
their about
happy
area?
to.
So our in-person attendees, if you would direct your attention to
So I'm gonna close the chat real quick. But if you have a question, just shout it out. So that way everybody can see the screen. So on your welcome screen when you first log in, there is I want to draw everybody's attention to this cool little social stream that happens. You can actually post in this cool little social stream. Things will automatically post into this stream. So events and press releases and things like that, those will automatically post into this stream, but you can actually add your own posts into this stream and anybody that logs into their chamber account will see it. So it's just a fun little thing. If you're already putting together some social media and you've got some content, this is just another great little place to follow. So over here on the left is your menu sort of choices in regards to your profile. So always, always, always make sure that your company profile is up to date. I'm going to pop in there real quick. So your company information is here, address information, there's some additional information, blah, 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 billing contact information. You want to make sure that's always correct for us. Well, we just need to know. But I'm going to draw your attention real quick to something over here on the left of the website information, because I talked a little bit about some of the features on this earlier. And so you can update your company name and your company information. This is the front-facing information, by the way. So this is the stuff that will appear on the website when people pull up your profile. You can put in your social icons. You can update your own description. So if something changes about your business and you want to update your website description, you can do it yourself right here. There's some search results. So these search results are the search results that happen on the chamber site. So when somebody searches for, in this case, it might be book publisher, and it shows Brick Media as a choice, it'll put this little piece of text right below it. So it's kind of like a summary, if you will, before they get into the main thing. You can put in your hours of operation if you're open for retail business. You can put in your driving directions if you're a little bit hard to find and maybe you want to tell people to turn right at the sign at the end of the dead end road. You can actually kind of put some of those little hints and directions in there. Now here's where I was talking about putting in multiple links. So you can actually create different links within your profile that go to different pieces of your website. So in this case, in our sample company, there's a link to buy on Amazon, there's a join our email list, there's an appearance schedule, and each of those links will go to a different place so that you can go to a different thing depending upon what it is your visitor is interested in. Here is your keywords. Your keywords would be similar to what the hashtags would be.
Yeah.
So, when you put in your keywords, the important thing to think about is not the words that you associate with your business. What words would somebody that's looking for you associate with your business? So in other words, all your lingo and all your detailed description stuff, but is the person that's on the other end going to type that into the search field? Is that what they're going to type in to find you? So make sure the words that you include in here are words that people would use to try and find you. And give it some thought. Keep a text file that you keep stored on your computer that you pop open when you think of a word. Oh, I got to update that. And then put it in your text file and save it so you don't lose them. Now, up at the top, here is sort of where you start with all of the different areas that you can actually create. So if you have a news release, you just click on the news button up here. And that pops you right into, oh, look, this is community content. There's one deal, blah, blah, blah. So now you can actually go ahead and create your own content. So in the case of, let's see, what do we got here? Go to news releases. Now, when you go into news releases, and I'm sorry, I clicked on news releases right here. This will pop up a couple of blue boxes. One is add a news release and manage your news releases. So if you've already put out a news release and you want to edit it, you can go to manage your news releases and you can edit whichever one is appropriate that you want to edit. But if you want to add a new one, you would just click the add a news release, and that'll bring you to a very nice, easily filled out form that you just kind of follow through. You follow through, you go down, you can put in your pictures, you can put in your contact information, and then when you're ready to submit it, you just click on submit for approval. That'll come into the queue for Marcus and I to look at, and we'll give it a once over, make sure it looks good, and then we'll go ahead and post it. Once we post it, it appears on the front of the chamber site, and then it goes out to social media. So Make sure your press release is clean, as Marcus was saying. Make sure it's formatted nicely. Make sure that it tells the story that you want to tell, the who, what, when, where, why. So certainly at some point we can do a separate entire session just about writing a good press release.
Bob, I have a real quick question.
Great.
On the bottom, of the thing where it had the contact information,
Yeah,
are those, I couldn't tell because it's far, far away.
yeah.
Are those content or contact persons and that sort of thing, is that a autofill field, or is that something that you'll have to copy paste or type in?
So it can be an autofill field. So in this example, so for, let's say, for example, oh look, Bob Nelson is the contact. I want to autofill. If you click Bob Nelson, bam, it puts all of his stuff
Okay,
into
cool.
there.
Awesome.
So if the contact is someone that isn't in your chamber profile, then you just type them in.
Got it, okay. That makes sense.
But yes, it can very much be autofill for you, so it saves you a lot of time. And if the person that you would want to be autofilled is someone that should be on your chamber profile, send us an email and we'll add them to your chamber profile so that they can become autofill.
Okay.
So that's kind of press releases. Events are very similar. You go over here to the events, gives you the two little blue buttons, add an event or manage your events. If you want to add an event, you just click the add an event. Very similar to press releases. Gives you, what's the title of your event, what's your event times. Here's your details. So tell us about what the event is, tell everybody what they want to know. Put the meta description, so this is a very concise. It's almost like if you're writing a tweet to describe your event, this is where you'd want to put that, because it's very concise, very, very boiled down. The search description, same thing. It has to be very concise. That should be a catchphrase, something that gets people to go, oh, I want to learn more about that, and then they click on it. You can put in location description, so you can actually describe the location in some detail. Now you saw in the front end that column is fairly thin. It's not a wide piece of real estate, so you don't necessarily want to spend a ton of text here, but you do kind of want to give people, especially if you're doing it at a place that they may not be familiar with, you may want to give it a little bit of oomph there. You can describe the date, time. So if, for example, you know that social hour is from 5 to 6, dinner is from 6 to 7, and dancing is from 8 on, you can actually put that into the time section so people get a better sense of how the event will play. Fees and admission is very simple. Is the event free? Is the event, or is there a cost? If there's an RSVP requirement, I would make sure you link to wherever it is that people can either register by or RSVP in this space. The more places you can put your link, the better. So that way people will know, oh, I gotta tell them I'm coming. Down here, here's your event categories. So always, if you as a chamber member are submitting an event, click the little box that says chamber member event. If you don't, I will, of course, but that's what puts you into the chamber member calendar. Do not click the chamber event, because that's only for chamber events. I will uncheck that on your behalf if you do. So just so you know. But the rest are fair game. So if you've got a particular attribute to your event, let's say, for example, it's on a holiday, let's say it's a community event, check the boxes that apply. Help people find your event as best that they can. I use it, as you can tell, I use it to kind of help sort the chamber events into whichever type of event it is, whether it's Taste of Mesa or Mesa Morning Live or whatever. But there should be plenty of categories for people to choose for their event based on what's going on. And then, of course, you can put photos and images. So you can put a bigger image that appears when they pull up the event. You can put smaller images that appear both when they're looking at the event details and when they're looking at the event in search. So there's all that. What else you guys want to know? I'm going to open it up because we're just about done here. So hit me with your questions. I know you have questions, Mary. I know you do.
Okay, so actually it's funny. I don't have a question, but I have a statement. When you hit the home, I never scrolled down in 2 years. I never even knew that was there. So scroll down. I had no clue. And look, I just posted, but where's my picture?
Because you
Where's
just
the
made,
picture?
didn't you? You changed something or did something, right?
No, I just posted it and I added a picture, but I don't see my picture.
Oh, well, you're listed here. You're in the home.
Yeah, I put a link and a photo. Can you only do one?
No, click on the, I think, well, actually, maybe you can only do one at a time.
The link works.
The link
Really?
works, but I had a really cool picture to go along with the link.
Boo,
Maybe it doesn't, maybe the images don't pop into that. field.
boo. Well, I don't know. I would have thought they would have both. Actually, I'm guessing that you can only pick one.
That one doesn't have a link in it.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
So that explains when I put the photo, it was there, but then when I'm like, oh, I want to do the link so they can go directly to it, that's why it removed the photo.
You got to link to the photo, it probably.
Boo.
right.
This guy doesn't
Hyperlink the photo.
pulls it up bigger.
So the link, though, the link's actually, you would just put a URL in.
Right, which I did. So when my photo was there, but then when I was like, oh, I can do a link too, because that's what my brain thought is I could do both.
A piece of text, it actually gets really sticky about HTML.
Does it?
Yeah, it gets really nasty about it. Otherwise, I would say yes, just throw an image tag in there. But so you can describe your link, so you can put some text above it, but it looks like it's just the link and some text.
Yep. So if I go in, how do I edit that? So if I want to change it and go, you know what? I'm just kidding.
I don't know that you edited. I think you just keep forward, keep moving forward.
So kind of like this. Hold on. I'm going to do it because you'll see it real time, right?
Is everybody logged in right now? Everybody gonna go in there and just post me a picture or post me a social thing?
Open. Okay. So now I'm going to do this and see what happens.
By the way, everybody else, if you've got a role, please don't hesitate. Thank you for being here. I know we're past time, so.
Thank you
Okay.
all.
So if you refresh it, you should see a picture now.
I'm engaged, I want to see this one.
Hang on. Yeah, now you got everybody like, we
Right,
want to see
I'm
the
like,
picture.
Oh,
to see if this is gonna work.
There it is. See, that was a cool picture. I wanted the link to go with the picture.
Well, there you go.
Boo.
But now you got both, right? You got
Yep.
both.
Yep.
You're good.
I think you could include the URL in the text. They have to highlight it and move it over. It wouldn't be hard links, but that would be a way to do both.
So smart. Thank you. I will do that with my tomorrow post.
Okay.
And we've created a monster.
Woohoo! Well, you know, we're already posting, most of us, I have to believe, are already posting on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on all these others. I didn't even know we could do this. So it's part of our daily post. Pop in here and be part of another community.
Well, you're gonna register for something anyway, right? At some point?
Great.
Stay connected to Mesa Chamber social media, email newsletters, Monday morning message, and mesachamber.org to always know what's happening at your Mesa Chamber.